Go ahead, tell him what you just said. You're a big talker.
He's been very difficult today.
Who?
From 5:15 in the morning till
Who?
now. You! Like, what is up? Did something happen this weekend? Are you okay?
I had a great weekend.
He's going to need some extra love today. I will read the messages. Come on, y'all. Be there for Brian.
I've been extra annoying today. Is that it?
Oh, it's okay. We're here for you, Brian.
It's okay. We're here for you, Brian. It's the same way as saying yes. Right?
You said it. You didn't see it? You didn't feel it this morning?
What? I don't know what you're talking about. Do you see what I have to put up with here? Isn't she?
I actually had good stuff to say about
Wow.
you because you've made me realize, wow, women do need male friends.
But you're so great to work with, and wow.
Oh my goodness, that's not what you say off air. Oh my goodness.
So, this was pretty interesting. Article from Christianity Today. Why married women need more male friends. She essentially says that in church circles, especially among men and women, we've been practicing social distancing of a sort for many years. And it's the Billy Graham rule.
Yeah.
That you can't be alone with a man or a woman that you're not married to.
So that includes, what are you playing about the elevator?
No, I'm being serious.
Elevator?
There are people who take this to the extreme that you can't be in a room without windows with the opposite gender. So they wait for an elevator.
Wow, that's exhausting.
So we know where
I walked some of this years ago, being a new Christian, and I was taught this and kind of lived this out.
Well, so she says, however, she's increasingly persuaded that Paul's words about rules on food and the Sabbath in Colossians 2 also can apply to man-made rules about married people avoiding the opposite gender. Here's the basics of Colossians 2:23. Such regulations, which were about the food and Sabbath, indeed have an appearance of wisdom, but they lack any value in restraining sensual indulgence. She goes on to say, Colossians is clear that if we put our sinful natures to death, we don't need more caution tape so much as more Christ-likeness. And then she says sexual infidelity ultimately results from the lack of character, not the lack of constraints. After all, the safest dog in the neighborhood is not the one on the shortest leash, but the one with the most discipline.
Wow.
That's true about dogs, right?
Yes, it is. But as someone, I got 2 dogs. The first one
that you don't like at all.
I don't. The first one is highly trained. The second one, she does whatever she wants to. We got them very different times, so Lynn had time to train Tiger. Somebody texted and said, yes, but at the end of the day, a dog is still a dog.
And women are still women.
It's true.
And women are still women.
No, and a human is still human. Like, we still have flesh. We still have sinful desires.
But I tell you what.
The Bible says don't put your trust in man.
But there is something about discipline, though. Like, I got a neighbor who's got a police dog, a bomb-sniffing dog. And I got my giant Louie. If his dog gets off a leash, that's the safest dog in the neighborhood. My dog gets off a leash, it's over. He's probably going to be dead. Because his dog is so much more disciplined. They're both dogs.
It's more disciplined, but I've always
So
felt
isn't
with
that
Tiger,
accentuated in people?
it's accentuated. But like, for example, I bet you if another dog comes along or certain things happen that are part of their instinct, that trained dog is still going to react. You see what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's still a dog. It's like when people have tigers that are pets. I mean, at the end of the day, that tiger that's your pet is still going to get you.
Pierre Chastain is here. Station manager, Moody Radio, Florida.
Hi, Pierre. He loves me.
You just sit there hanging out. I'm saluting.
Whatever. Tara says, love this topic. My boss has been a mentor in my life. He has been working on becoming a life coach through John Townsend leadership course that partners with Fieldstone. Oh, that's cool. Thank you, Christina. He's always interrupting all the time. I don't understand it. Christina, you're my new friend looking out for me. Thank you. I love you. Love your Facebook profile. And I love your picture. She's looking out. David says, what is the discussion about? Go ahead, Brian.
I'm sorry, are you finished?
You trying to be extra nice. David, we're talking about women, men, the Billy Graham rule. Should we revisit it? Tara continues to say, without his leadership, her boss's leadership, my life would have been stuck in disgrace and depression.
Yeah.
Brian is my friend, believe it or not. More like my brother, annoying, younger, slightly younger
Much
brother. And there is one thing about, first of all, I have guy friends. One of my favorite, almost like my dad, guy friend is Ron Hollis. So I have guy friends, but with the way Len and I have dealt with it is a guy friend. Like when I've had guy friends, we're like couple friends. So Len's definitely involved. If you can't be friends with Len, you're not friends with me. And it's usually couple friends. Like I don't go out to eat breakfast with my guy friend. I go with my girlfriends, etc. But what I was going to say is, as I've worked with you and hung around with you and then our boss, women, guys, we coddle each other a lot. There are insecurities or opinions I've had. Stop. Don't react. Don't be like, I told you. I don't want to hear no bell. But when I've expressed some of my thoughts or things with women, we're like, oh yeah, I get you. It's so true. We do that a lot to each other. There's something about a guy friend. My brother does this to me. It's just he lives far. That you challenge me and my thoughts and my positions in ways that a woman just doesn't. Women, even if we disagree, we're very good at, oh, I see it. I understand your perspective. You know, the annoying part of you makes me question, which we should do that. Like, man, maybe I should look at this differently, and makes me stretch, even and especially in ministry. There's growth I've seen in myself that is way past what I would have experienced if I would have been just surrounded by women. That's a lot I just gave him. A lot. Oh, my gosh.
But now, okay.
Women need men, big time. Men friends.
And I agree with that in principle. And you're also, let's just say, you're very conservative in your application of this concept. However...
Now, I'll get in a car with a guy. We're not, like, scared. I'm not scared of men, but I'm very careful.
Well, let me ask you this. You've talked about your mentor as a guy who's older than you.
Yeah.
You ever had a phone conversation with just him?
Yeah. And text
with
just him.
Could Len hear the conversation?
Absolutely.
Every time? There wasn't one conversation you've had where Len was not in your shot?
No. Oh, no. I thought you meant could he have? Like, were we talking about anything?
I know you would have. I'm not questioning your integrity in this. What I'm saying is,
we've been alone. I've been in a car talking to Ron.
Okay, so now, in principle, that's a violation of the Billy Graham rule.
Yeah. So I didn't follow it strictly.
So,
but,
how have you gotten to the point where you...
He's a mentor and a teacher. To just be a friend and me be on the phone with a friend, there's purpose behind our conversation. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes,
I
do.
So it's different with Ron.
So what I'm trying to get at is, how do we harness that difference to understand perhaps the gray area in this, where you found out that without him as your mentor, you'd be missing out on a lot of things in life.
A lot.
So that male friendship is one you've needed.
Yeah.
And you've had private conversations with, private as in like your husband's not there.
Yeah.
And text messages with him. How have you been able to create that as an exception that's not a problem?
With Ron?
Yeah. Or, quite honestly, with me. Or our boss.
How?
Because that's the gray area where you can say, oh, well, that's Ron. He's a mentor for me.
With you, it's different. And I've learned, oh my gosh, it's not a big deal.
Why?
And there's things I've gained. Why? With you, because I feel protected. Wait, because you're a Christian and because you have the same goal I have, which is to glorify the Lord, respect our husbands and our wives. Like, I can't say that about every man.
Exactly.
That's why I was saying I am concerned about the other person. I could think, oh, I could have all kinds of guy friends. I'm good. I don't know if the other man has the same goal. And so if I'm texting John because he's a guy friend or whatever, do I know that he has my best interest and my husband's best interest at heart? So I have to be concerned about, where are you in your walk with the Lord? Should I be friends with you in that sense? Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, and I agree with your wise perspective on that, but doesn't that point to a case-by-case application rather than a blanket rule?
It does.
The blanket rule says you should never talk to or text your mentor or me ever without Len around.
Yeah.
That's the rule. Now, you found a way to navigate that in a case-by-case basis. I
Yes.
agree with you. There's been situations where I've gone, this is not okay. And I haven't said it out loud, but I've gone, I'm not doing this right now. Or this is a person I need to stay cautious from.
Yeah.
Remember Kathleen talking about this before with me, where there was a particular woman in her husband's practice that seemed to like be keeping an eye on him.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
so she was able to go, you need to avoid that woman.
Yeah.
And he was able to go, okay, I get it. You know, it's like case by case. I think blanket rules, destructive situations just like yours, where you could actually have some serious mentoring in life that would be godly and biblical and
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes. That's deep that you say mentoring. Besides Ron, I've been taught that women should be discipled by women, and the intimate relationship of discipleship and mentorship should only be between a woman and a woman. There's truth to that in some sense, but to make the blanket rule, don't you feel like we miss out? Like women miss out. I've seen this as a rule in churches.
Women are
where
shut
women are only discipled by women.
And they're shut out of church decision making.
Yes.
I'm not talking about elder board
Yeah.
and women's role in the church in general. I'm talking about, you know, a group of influencers. Oh, sorry, you can't come with us to lunch.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Yeah. Isaac says, I agree that we should be well disciplined, but also should we put ourselves into situations that can lead to temptations? No one says to a recovering alcoholic, go sit in a bar. For yourself, even though you trust yourself. Do you agree? There is some, I'm still a woman. I still have
Yeah.
seasons in my marriage that I could be more vulnerable. Len has seasons in it.
Of course.
I mean, life is long. 10 years from now, I don't know where I'm going to be at. So should I change the dynamic in my friendships to protect my flesh?
but now hold on though. I mean, I agree in principle with that. But I like to use hyperbole as an example. But let's just say the bar represents for the alcoholic the temptation in its existence, right? Wouldn't the equivalent being a person that's worried about sexual temptation going to a strip club? Because the purpose of a strip club is sexual temptation,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Now, if that's the principle, one can't always, if you're an alcoholic, you will not ever be able to completely avoid alcohol. You might go to a place that doesn't have a bar, but they sell alcohol. So what, they got it on a menu so you can't eat there? No, you manage to find a way to fight temptation in your life. You go to a party with some friends, and they offer a beer, and you're an alcoholic. You see?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that we can create this scenario that we try to pretend that we can, which is that we're completely eliminating all temptation from ourselves. The goal is Christ-likeness and keeping focused on Him in the midst of our temptations, not eliminating all of them. To eliminate temptation would be to live alone in an empty room
Right.
with nothing in it.
But you have to be mindful and sensitive to situations that expose you. And to one perspective that I don't think you see as clearly because you're a guy, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong. Women, there's actually an article that I wanted to revisit to do with you on air, so I don't know if we're gonna go there. It was about it was about emotional infidelity. I forgot the title.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Women
Emotional
are
affairs.
big time with this. So the only thing you're exposing yourself to is not just sex. It's sorry guys, I mean whatever.
Emotional connection.
Dude,
Yes.
and women, like, that's the issue. A man may never know, but you could start depending on a guy, your guy friend. We need to keep that in check. And I think only a woman knows, should I not be, I don't know. There's something that women do that
But there's a way
exposes
to
us
do it.
when we start having guy friends.
But there's a way to do it where you go, oh, I've got these emotional issues right now. What, you just gonna, ooh, let me call that guy. Hey, I'm having emotional problems. There's ways to just avoid those kind of conversations.
Do you think sometimes it's not what you're talking about?
It can be. And you gotta
If you're
again,
missing,
it's
let's say,
discernment.
the friendship dynamic in your marriage, or you feel lonely in your marriage, that friendship with a guy could start replacing things that your husband, even if it's just companionship.
Sure, it's possible, which is why you have to be discerning and patient. We should scroll up and talk about some of the,
Up? Oh,
we
okay.
missed a lot of comments.
Yeah,
So
we
sorry guys, we were really into that.
Mike says, we need to try and put ourselves in a non-believer's point of view and ask ourselves what we think when we see a man and a woman together. Troy says, you see, my biggest problem is I've got a very unethical past. I've been a very bad boy, so my past creeps up on me and other people's eyes. So for their sake, I stay away from women alone.
And I think that's wisdom. Troy, I think that indicates, again, case by case basis. For some people who struggle in this area, this rule makes perfect sense. But that doesn't mean that it'll work perfectly for everybody.
Tara says the challenging part of certain situations is you're not sure what can mislead other people or where their heart lies. I do agree. And then Troy continues and says, and when it comes to women, they don't like me because I trust 100% the Lord. And in their eyes, it means I don't give he doesn't care. But if something is going to happen, I'm protected by the Lord. But a lot of people can't do that in their mind. So jealousy is like a cancer and it will kill anything that touches. David, good morning. He says, remember, the enemy doesn't need a lot of room to make things seem worse than they are.
That's right.
Yeah. Sarah, hola. She says, buenos dias. For some reason, my comment isn't posting right. I just wanted to finish my comment by saying that a lot of this idea has been propelled by the idea that men can't control their urges. I have come to believe that is not true.
Correct.
I love that this article states that character is far more important than control. Shout out to my husband whose life has shown me that there are men who are not controlled by their urges.
Yes, and there are men who struggle in this area who need to be careful. But I think that rule turns men into sexual monsters.
Mm-hmm.
That I can't possibly talk to a woman without sinning. And I don't believe that's true, and I think it demonizes men.
Yes.
And it objectifies women.
But I called out in the way that women need this rule. Emotional
Sure.
emotional.
But we all have choices to make. Okay, it's going to get real here. Have you ever had somebody hit on you?
Yeah.
Oh,
not,
so you had
but
an affair
it's not
then.
explicit.
So you had an
It'll
affair
be
then.
implicit, where you start sensing, like, oh, we're talking, and that's where I find myself saying, hey, and so how's your wife so and so? Do you see what I'm saying? It's not when you're in Christian circles. You got to be like wise as a serpent, because they won't be like, oh, you look fine. You know, it'll be the little subtle comments that you said it. You've caught it before. You know, and I think we got to be wise enough where it doesn't have to get to that point for you to catch it and cut it.
But see, you didn't succumb to temptation.
Right. I see what you're saying. Right.
Because
but I don't
the
know.
operating principle of the rule is that if we're faced with temptation, we're going to fail.
that you're going to... Right.
That's the operating principle.
But why expose yourself overall, I'm saying?
Why only have that principle apply to this rule and nothing else in our lives?
Yeah.
We don't do it with television. We don't do it with, some people don't do it with alcohol. We don't do it with, I don't know, name something else.
Yeah.
Food.
Yeah. Eva says, it's sad that this mindset exists instead of exercising discernment. I have found more value in my male best friends than all my female friends combined. I wouldn't go that far, because Brian, he's not that good. No, stop. This stretches across the board from topics of health, mental well-being, motivation, with life choices. We were best friends over the course of 13 years, and yes, it has cost me a relationship with a couple of men I've dated. I've always made it very clear that if they didn't trust that friendship, then I value my friendship more than that relationship, and they can leave. My husband, on the other hand, trusts both of us completely and chose my best friend to be my best man at our wedding.
Cool. It can be done, it sounds like.
Yeah. Sheila, I agree with Brian. Okay, I should have skipped.
Wait,
I like you, Sheila. That it can't be a blanket rule. That is very true.
Yeah.
Should be case by case.
Because I can dismantle the impossibility of the rule. I know it's annoying, but again, you talk to an attorney. They can't create a scenario where they're sometimes not alone with a woman because of client confidentiality. Counselors, doctors. I mean, go down the list. There's so many people in business.
Yeah.
So it's better to walk in discernment. And I think, Janelle, you're right. Selective application of the rule. There's going to be a time where you go, because I follow Christ, I'm not going to do this situation. I'm not going to hang out in your hotel room.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out to dinner with you. I'm not going to take your phone call.
I'm not going to talk to you about... There's certain topics that you could talk to your girl about that you don't talk to... I don't care how close a guy friend is. Right. But that's where the Christ-likeness, and that's where it's complicated. You're walking your faith. Like you said, it's easy to just say, I'm just going to shut it down and not be exposed. It's like with our kids. It's easy to tell my 17-year-old, you can't have a phone. It's more difficult to say, let's learn how to use a phone and have self-control and restraint, right? Like, that's life. You got to learn how to be...
That's a great example.
Even with my kids, I found with our conversations about homosexuality, And Len and I, in our decisions, he's like, dude, we're Christians and we live in the world. Like, you got to learn as a Christian how to navigate living in the world. And I think that's where you're saying the blanket rule is just so simplified in terms of wisdom.
I wish it were called the Billy Graham principle.
Yeah. Principally, that's true. Eric, can we get a...
You haven't done any Facebook stalking today, have you?
With, I did it with someone. Eric says, Eric is new. Let's check out who Eric is. Hi, Eric. Nice. Oh, you're in Columbus? You work in Columbus? And you're an owner of properties. Are you a landlord? Are you an investor? Wow, CEO, Brian.
It's getting real personal here.
Hi, Eric. He says, external behavior does not guarantee inner purity.
That's right.
But give no room for the flesh. Also, remember, Israelites told God they would obey. Then they turned around and built a calf. Thinking yourself pure rather than a sinner and depraved makes you only a proud person, setting yourself to fall.
Excellent point, because with Eric's principle as well, couldn't it be that a guy perfectly follows the Billy Graham rule and is addicted to pornography?
Yeah, it's true.
So the rule is doing no good at all in inner purity of sexual temptation, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think Eric is right in that it dictates you don't just throw out the rule, which I've seen some Christian writers kind of go, forget about this, we're fine. No, I think I think it brings a principle worth examining in a case-by-case basis.
So, first of all, she brought up something that I want to make sure when
Who?
Somebody agreed and said, yeah, no blanket statement, but she made sure to say, but make sure to talk it over with your spouse. Because we're talking about lines or whatever. They got to agree. Because if your spouse is not comfortable with you having friends of the opposite sex, or sometimes it's, I don't want you to be friends with that person. What do? You're married already. So you can't do what Troy did and say, well, then if you don't accept my friend, you're gone. Or you shouldn't.
I think the conversation should be different than, I don't want you to be friends with that person. I think it should be, I'm concerned not for you, but because of them, and I've seen their behavior. I don't want to be crazy about this. How about we try to make sure we're always together as couples?
Yeah.
Let's go, if you want to get them together with them, let's go grab as couple. You know, there's ways to do it without being so punitive and so extreme.
Y'all ready for this? Watch. So, Brian, what have you gained from having female friends? What would you have missed out on if you didn't have female friends?
I thought it really was just for women to have that benefit of being with men.
We're missing out. Men need female friends, no?
There was a national talent for Moody that was a big encourager and mentor of me in developing who I am as a radio personality and a professional. And then another woman at Moody working behind the scenes who has a ton of radio experience and broadcasting experience, who's been an advisor to me when I've needed it.
But is there a part of women that makes it where you gain something by having them as friends? Because I told you that, like, women need male friends. I can see that. Do you think male need women friends?
Somebody else might be able to answer that better than me.
Wow,
that's not my purpose for it. No, I can't think off the top of my head some sort of feminine thing. Because remember, I'm also the one that talks about his feelings all the time. Like some stereotypical female qualities are things that I do. So I'm not getting that from you. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Someone talked about that she would talk to her male friends about problems with her husband before she would talk. Is that a blanket rule?
I don't think it's a good idea.
Do you think it depends how you talk about
it? You could probably find an exception, sure, but I think out of principle, it's better to talk to someone of the same gender about it.
Yeah.
But if you want to get a perspective of a man or something, and there's a way to do it without being awkward.
Yeah. Monique says, great topic. Individuals should be aware of their strengths and weaknesses. Kind of like how Troy said, if you struggle with it and it's in your past.
Well, it's like weak people try to make everybody's rules apply to them. That's the problem. People weak in certain areas. Like, let's just say I have an area of weakness that I'm not going to talk about at the moment. But so I develop a system that works for me. Not everybody else has to follow this. That's outrageous.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Mike says, I had a pastor one time that told his good friend that if he ever sees the pastor with a certain woman, to get him to get away because there was temptation.
But that's accountability.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
A lot of people are agreeing with it should be a case-by-case basis Adrian agrees that, yes, emotional infidelity is real.
Definitely real.
Yeah. Marion says, if you want a male perspective, talk to your dad or brother. Adrian says, I agree with Brian. It can't be a blanket for all.
Well, but okay, so Miriam brings up an interesting point. Not every woman has a brother. And not every dad is a guy that will talk about certain issues. So what? Is a woman stuck with just no one then?
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't have a brother and your dad passed away.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, you're out of luck. No male influence for you.
Or you can have a brother that's like, I don't want your perspective. You're not a Christian. Like, you may not want in that topic. So you're saying it's how you bring it up. So what are things to be careful with?
What do you mean?
Like, what do you mean about it depends how you talk about it?
So if you talk to your friend who's the opposite gender, like complaining about your spouse, bad idea.
Yeah.
Bad idea. But maybe there's a situation where you could say, hey, we're having a conflict in this area. I really love and trust him or her, and they're great. But can you help me understand where they might be coming from in this?
Yeah, what am I
Doesn't that sound
missing?
different than, oh, he doesn't pay attention to me, he's so mean, and then, oh, I think you're great, I pay attention to you. Do you see where that goes quickly?
Oh my gosh, yes.
There's got to be a way
yeah.
to do it. I mean, I think it's borderline, but there's got to be a way to do it.
Yeah. That is borderline. David says, I can't. Wait, he's talking to Marion. If you want a male perspective, talk to your dad. And then David said, can't, because they might not like your husband.
That's true.
That's another
why,
one. And then getting parents involved in your business sometimes is not a great idea.
Well, that'll just about do it for us.
Eric, you got my respect, CEO, owner.
Eric is back. Come back, Eric. We're glad to
Yeah.
see you.
Oh,
We've
wait. Can I read? Eric also said, the Bible says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Also, let there be no hint of sexual immorality. BG's rule, Billy Graham's, is so that no outside person would accuse him of inappropriate behavior, nor he be tempted or any woman be tempted.
I
And
totally
like
agree.
he said, it was his way of handling his worldwide ministry.
And by the way, yes, he was in the global spotlight. Most people are not.
Yeah, exactly.
So there can be different circumstances here.
Sheila, we can't go without talking about what Janelle made a great point about women needing to be careful with their emotions. Also, Brian, sometimes it's not about content, but about time spent communicating with someone other than your spouse, when you said about not prohibiting a friendship.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's wisdom, right? If you're spending way more time with your male best friend than your husband, you got a problem.
Yeah, it's true.
I hate to make it sound super easy, but
Yeah.
isn't it that easy?
Yeah.
Gary said he almost called in to be on Bible Brainbusters,
Oh,
but he's glad he didn't because it was definitely hard today.
Yeah, it sure was.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
Love you, Hollis, Eva, Mike, Sheila, Meredith, David,
First Lady Tanks.
Adrian. Yeah, she be quiet. She doesn't talk. Why?
First
Tara
Lady,
was
thank you
on.
for joining us today, First Lady.
Pierre, thank you for joining us.
Yes,
Aha,
thank you,
I said
Pierre.
it. Kenny Santiago. I visited your
Mariana.
town yesterday, Santiago, and I loved Lakeview Park, East Beach. I was there with my kids, so hello to the people in Lorraine. I was showing my sister around. Hey, Vicky. Vicky's my girl. Angela, Troy, Janet. Troy actually said earlier, he said
He
Gangster
totally agrees
B
with me.
and Beautiful J. Gangster B and Beautiful J.
What's up?
Bye, guys.
All right, we out. See you tomorrow.